We're just beginning section 2, where we'll learn how to get less into our workflows and, more importantly, how to get CSS out of our less code. Throughout section 2, we'll be looking at the various ways of converting less into CSS. There are many methods, tools and command line instructions that you can use to process your less code. I'll devote a video to each of the 4 popular methods and take a global look at how to set up and process your less code. By far, the easiest method to use less is to work with the LESS.js file. However, this is not advisable outside of a development environment. It does, however, have its uses. In this video, we are going to take a look at the quickest way to work with less by simply dropping in a .js file into your HTML. We'll then take a look at why this isn't a good idea for live and production sites. And finally, we'll take a look at what it is good for. Let's kick things off with an example. Here's an index file that I have already prepared. We'll load this up in my browser. First off, it should be completely unstyled. Next up, we'll need to include our LESS.js file. This can be downloaded direct from the LESS CSS website, LESS.css.org. On the LESS CSS website, click on Get LESS.js in the navigation menu and then click on Download LESS.js. This will also quote a version number, but that's not critical. So once you've saved both your HTML and your JS file, we'll need to include LESS.js into our page. Let's locate the closing head tag and enter the following code, making sure to change the source to match where you've saved your file on your local server. Alternatively, you could pull in the LESS.js file direct from the provided CDN. Using a CDN for your scripts has some good points. It can load the scripts faster, as other sites may have already cached the file on your system. CDNs also have some bad points. The CDN server may go down, or the file being served may not be up to date. However, as I'm against using the LESS.js file in production and on live sites, using the CDN is a little pointless. So for the purpose of this video, I'll be using a local copy of LESS.js. Our last task here is to include our less file into our HTML. Using the LESS.js method of converting our less into CSS is the only method where we include the raw less file in our HTML. Locate the link tag in our HTML and insert the following code. Don't forget to adjust the href to suit the location of your less file. In this instance, my less file is located at assets/less/styles.less. Now we're all set. Load up your index file in your browser again. You should now see some styles applied. You may have noticed that we haven't actually included a CSS file within our HTML and nothing is being parsed. This is because the LESS.js file is doing the work for us. It is reading the linked .less file and converting it to CSS on the fly. This is great if you're running some tests or playing locally and don't want the hassle of setting up a task runner or other piece of software. However, it's not advisable to run this type of setup on production code for a few reasons. The 2 main reasons are: 1. It is an extra download for your browser. Your browser then needs to locate the .less file, read the contents, pass all that styling back through the JS file, and apply it to the HTML as CSS. This has to happen before displaying any styles. This isn't really noticeable if you're on a speedy connection at home, but if you're on a mobile device on a train in the countryside, it will slow your website rendering right down and annoy your users. Number 2. If your users have JavaScript disabled by default, then the LESS.js file won't be utilized and your styles won't be converted. Your website will then be displayed as a default unstyled page. I normally advise against using the LESS.js file approach in 95% of situations, but it is good for some things like prototyping or testing locally. In this video, we have seen how we can utilize the provided LESS.js file to convert our less styling on the fly. We've also seen how this isn't necessarily a good idea outside of a prototyping or testing environment.